assignment over factoring. We didn't do anything major. The only thing we added in was what? Just added in a GCF to start looking at. Now on the front side of things, as we briefly talked about, that is again the old, I say old stuff, but that's our stuff that we had talked about with factoring from Wednesday and Thursday. Okay, Thursday was the big day of notes. So as we look at that front side, 1 through 6, anybody have any questions of how are we getting those answers or anything like that? Again, you got to make sure you're doing that practice, do the assignments. If you didn't do anything with it on Friday, it's not going to be probably as stellar as it should be. Let's look at the back side real quick. On the back side then, that is where the GCF then comes into play. So let's take a look. I'm going to take a look at number 3 with you. Number 3, and actually, when you look at all these answers on the back, number 8, I say 3, it's 3 starting off with 8, 10, 11, and 14. You can see in all the answers, there's a 2 up front that tells me there was a GCF hiding there. And if you also look at those numbers are relatively large. So with that being relatively large, I'm looking for that GCF to bring out. So as we say, take a look at number 8 real quick. We've got our rules, our steps to go through. Are you in standard form? Yes or no. If not, rearrange it. That one was good to go and braid. What was our second rule we added in on Friday? Look for a GCF. And this has a 3 in all of those terms. And that's going to bring down our numbers a bit. So when you brought out that 3, take out a 3, divide it. So what do we have? A squared minus 3a, and then what? Minus 40. All of a sudden, our terms went down quite a bit, and that should be a little bit more easy to factor now. So if you now go through and identify A, B, and C, that's our third step. A is what? 1, B is -3, and C is what? -40. List them out as we've been doing. Factors of A, factors of C. How do you get a 1? 1 and 1, and how do you get a 40? List them out. 1 and 40, 2 and 20, 3 and no, 4 and 10, 5 and 8. Now we repeat ourselves. And before we start building our parentheses, we always go back to the constant. And how do we get a negative through multiplication? The signs either the same or the opposites. What are they? Opposites, correct. So that build starts to help us build our quantities. A being what again? 1 and 1. So 1 and 1. Now because they're opposites, now this one's not too bad, but because they're opposites, we got to then use that in conjunction with one of those pairs up there. 1 and 40, 2, 30, 4, 10, 5, and 8. And what's our goal? We're trying to get a -3 right there. So what pair are we targeting? Well, the answer's up there too. 5 and 8. In your head, again, as we kept talking about that last week, this is the multiplication I'm doing in my head. What does a 5, or sorry, what needs to go there? A 5 and an 8. And then what do they need to do? They need to somehow then add up to be a -3. So we had to put a plus and minus up there. And in this case, positive and a negative. So again, what I'm doing here is checking that multiplication in my head, adding these together, and boom, there we go. That's a minus, and that's a plus, and that is a positive. Thank you. Yep. So what should we have instead? Yep. Thank you. And so as I did that, that's a positive, and we actually want a negative. Just toss it there, Max. So what we just say? Minus and a plus. And that does give me that -3. Thank you. All looks good. Don't forget, if we brought a GCF out from the very beginning, bring that 3 along for the ride. Okay. Now, after that, the first 2 on that one, number 7 and 9, those are binomials. Let's look at 7 and 9 here. On a quick glance, 7 and 9 look almost exactly the same, don't they? But they are different. So let's look at 7 here and then number 9. On number 7, we're in standard form. A is 1, B is what? -3. And what does C turn out to be? C is 0. On number 9, we're going to kind of work these together. A is 1. B is, what's B this time? What's B? What's the linear term? Do I have a linear term? So what's a linear term? There is none. There's 0. And what do we have C this time? All right. So we said if C turns out to be 0, you got to do your thought process a little bit differently, and you have to do a GCF. Anytime C is 0, you got to kind of forget everything we've talked about the last couple days and do the GCF. So that's what we're doing on number 7. We're doing a GCF up here. These two terms, what do they have in common? Both have n in it, right? Plus it. So I take out an n, and remember to show what you have left over, you divide, plus you get. And when we divide, using our exponent rules from 5th and 6th grade, we get n minus 3. That checks out the answer. But I'm not doing that on number 9. Yes, I have a 0, but the 0 occurs this time with the linear term. Who the heck cares? The only thing I said is if C is 0, do a GCF. Otherwise, keep factoring like we started on Thursday, that we did on Friday, and that we'll do today here again in a moment. A is 1, factors of 1, factors of C. Factors of 1 are 1 and 1, factors of 4 are 1 and 4, and 2 and 2. Before I build my parentheses, right there, it's a -4. How do I get a negative through multiplication? Same sign or opposites? Opposites. And now let's build those two quantities. A is n, or 1 and 1, no problem with it. Okay, 1 and 1. All right, it starts to build it. And before I start kind of guessing here, I'm looking at, all right, what's my goal? Get B to be 0. So I'm doing everything like I did the same from Thursday and Friday. Didn't have to worry about GCF. Trying to get a 0 out of there. One has to be positive, one has to be negative. And the only way to happen that is some 2's. Did we change anything from what we did on that Thursday, Friday? No. B is 0, treat it just the same. The only one that you have to then remember is when C is 0. C has got to be the GCF then. Otherwise, B is 0, keep doing the exact same freaking thing. Okay. All right. Anything else anybody's got? Those are the couple that I wanted to briefly talk about. All right, the usual. Make sure your name's on it, throw the basket. Let's get out your notes. We're going to continue practicing and tweaking things. Again, just throw it in there, basketball next. So again, just as a reminder, if you were here, you weren't here. And if you were here and you're still struggling a bit, all right, if you've been keeping up with the assignments daily, trying them out, it doesn't just happen if you just focus on today and that's it. You got to do the practice. But if you need to go back through and watch things, the video is up there. You just have no time. Today's magic number is 9. 9 days between now and the start of finals. So time is ticking out even quicker. All right, one more time. Get out your notes. Let's turn it to the next page. And we're going to do, what's up? Okay, we're going to do our next lesson here. Nothing's majorly changing at all. We're just going to do our next tweak Thursday, Friday stuff. And then once we get through the examples here, at the end of the like I said, we'll do a short mini quiz. And be very quick to show who's been doing the stuff and who's not been doing the stuff. All right. So let's do this today, boys and girls. Again, on this page here, let's start us off. All right. Go through your steps. Number 1 there. Are we in standard form? Do we have the GCF up there? No. 6, 5, and 6. Nothing happens with that. All right. Let's continue our next step just like we did. A is 6. B is -5. And C is -6. Let's list them out. We're not doing anything different. As I said on that Thursday, we did 60-70% of that topic right there on that one day. Now we just keep Factors of A, factors of C. How can you get a 6 through multiplication? Alright, so here's the change for today. It's nothing major, but that's the change. Everything I've been getting up to this point, A has been prime. So you have 1 and what? 5. 1A and 7. 1 and 2. 1 and 1. Now A is no longer prime. It's what we say is composite. So this is where I told you on Thursday last week, some of you might get pissed off because it keeps kind of taking a little bit forever. Here's the other day that you might get a little PO, because it might be a little bit forever here on this one. So factors of C, how do we get -6? What's got to be true about my signs there? You got to have opposites, correct. All right, now let's build it. We've been stealing from A. 5 and 1, 5x, 1x, 7, 7x and 1x. Which one are you going to take? 6 and 1? Or you going to take 2 and 3?
6 and 1.
I don't know. That's part of the guessing. Okay. So here is the difference now. With today's lesson, then, what we have to account for is if 6 and 1's not working, then go look at 2 and 3. That's the only change there. Okay. So what we need now to figure out is, come on, erase, not erase. Well, that's not big. All right. So from here, we want to go through and figure out what combination is going to work. Is it the 6x and 1x? Give myself a little bit of room. Or is it the 3x and 2x? Again, what am I doing in my head? I'm doing this multiplication. Now I've got two parts that I have to figure out which part actually works. All right. So give you a second to chew on that. In my head, I'm plugging in my factors of C in those locations and trying to figure out what's my goal. My goal is to get a -5 out of there. Caleb?
You could do -6 and +1.
Where at?
The +1 and the first one and
This one or the bottom one?
the
Top one?
Yeah.
Okay, you said what now?
You do
6x what?
+1.
+1? And then -6? Alright, let's check Caleb's suggestion here. 6x times -6 is -36, right? Yeah, and then 1x -35. It's not close. You can keep trying 6 and 1 all day. I don't think 6 and 1's happening. I think it's happening on this pair, the 3x and 2x. Okay, I can try the 2 and the 3, and you guys should be trying your combinations there in your seat, not just waiting for me. But you can try 3 and 2 all day you want. What's 6x and 2? That's a 12. That's a 3. Is there any way a 12 and a 3 can become a 5? -5? No. So I've kind of exhausted my possibilities there, and the 6x and 1x isn't working. So now I'm really focusing on this group right here. So it's no different than I keep saying it's a puzzle. Maybe you grab the wrong corners. Those wrong pieces are not going in the right locations. Pick the different corners. So 3x and 2x is where I want to focus, and we're still trying to get a -5 out of that. This is just my suggestion here. Maybe try that. Okay. So this is where I said you might get a little PO'd again today at me. It gets better. This first day is always the roughest. What's 3x and 3? 3x times 3 is 9. 2 and 2 is a 9 and a 4. Is that going to somehow get me to a 5? Yep. Now what I want, actually want a -5, right? So which one's got to be the negative? The -9, right? So what that meant was correct. That means that had to be the combination, right? 3 times -9, sorry, 3 times 3 is -9, 2 and 2 is 4. What does that add up to give you? -5, okay? Is that my door? Yep. All right, so as you will work through then today and this point on between now and, well, by the time you leave high school here, keep taking math classes. When we start factoring, A is going to be whatever. A is going to be prime. A is going to be just 1. That's when our life is a little easier. The one now, A could be whatever. It could be composite, we say. Okay? One down. Let's do another one here. Okay? Let's take a look at what? Number 2 there. Let's list them out. It's in standard form, right? Always look for that GCF. Do I have a GCF in number 2? 10, 23, and 42? Any GCFs there? No. A is 10, B is 23, and C is negative 42. List them out. Take that 10 seconds it takes you to list out those factors of 10 and then of 42. This is why, again, I told you last week, get into that habit of listing factors because I knew this was coming up, and you'll have more factors to keep in track of. 1 in 10 is a possibility, but if 1 in 10 is not working, what's the other one? 2 and 5. 42, go down in order. Yeah, 1 divided by 42 is 42, 2 and 21, 3 and 14. That's the only time you might want to have your calculator out is right here. Yeah, 4 no, 5 no, 6 and once you start repeating yourself, you're done. And before we make my guesses, I'm laying out all these pieces. All right, the puzzle, they're all facing up. What do I want to keep about in my head about the signs? Same signs or opposites? Got to have a positive and got to have, wicked right there, a negative. So as I try to figure this combination out, if it's not 10x and 1x, what's it going to be? 5x and 2x. So now I'm trying to figure out in my head as I'm going through these pairs in just a moment. This is again the multiplication I keep track of. I start playing that game of plugging it in, multiply, and what do I want to get? I want to get a 23 out of that. And just to save some time, don't worry about 10x and 1x. It's not going to be the first pair. It's going to be the 5x and 2x. Again, it's always there. The answer is always there. It's just a matter of do you have the perseverance to keep playing with those numbers and eventually find the combination. And it always gets a little bit better. Assuming you are doing the assignments each night, trying them out, checking your answers, it gets a little faster each day. If you're not doing that, it does not become very fast. Again, I wouldn't worry about the 10x and 1x combination. I would focus on the 5x and 2x. You want to get that up to a 23. And some of those numbers you can kind of figure out, well, that doesn't go, it's way too high, or that's going to be way too low once you start plugging in some numbers to get there. If somebody's kind of figured it out, would a 1 and 42 be helpful? No. Would 2 and 21 be helpful? Would a 3 and 14 be helpful? How about a 6 and 7? Yep. I would be focused on using that 6 and 7 in one of the locations. Okay. And definitely, again, where it goes makes the biggest of differences. 5x plus what? 2x plus what? To give me that 23. It's always there. 5x what, Caleb?
5x minus 6 and 2x plus 7.
Let's check Caleb's suggestion right here. So again, as I'm standing up here trying to figure out the pairs myself, 5x times 7 is 35. Okay, it's kind of close to 23. Now I bring in the next multiplication of what? Negative 12. And as I'm up here doing my head, what's 35 into 12? It gives you a 47, or it takes you down to a 23. Is that what we want? Sure is. And we cool the signs. Positive 23, positive 23. That looks good. So thank you, Caleb. That's the only thing I should see then on your answer blank. Either circled or on the answer blank. There's blanks in all these. That's what I'm looking for. Okay. All right. That's about as rough as that new part gets for today. Nothing more crazy than that right there. Let's do some more here. All right. Let's take a look at number 3. One more time. Go through the steps. It should be an automatic in your head as well. It should be just like a robot running through there. Is it in standard form? Yes. Is there a GCF? Is there a GCF? 56 maybe with a 3, but does 56 and 3 work actually?
No.
No. So no GCF. I always look for GCF to bring down the size of my numbers. All right, that sucks. All right, let's do this. A is 9, B is 3, and C is negative 56. List them out. Factors of 9, 1 and 9, or got to account for both of those. One of those is going to work for you until it doesn't, but that's for a conversation down the road. But these will all factor for you. That's second semester. I will kill you right now with that, Alan. Okay. Second semester, I might. 1 and 56, 2 and 28, 4 and 14, 5 no, 6 no. I think you did that last week, didn't you, Caleb? I know. 6 and 9 is 54, not 56, right? And then lastly, all right, at least you know 7 and 8. What's gonna be true about my signs? Sames or opposites? Thank you. All right, let's build it. It's either gonna be 9B and 1B, and if that's not working, it's gonna be correct. Now again, this is right here. Multiplication I'm doing. Complete the puzzle. Keep in mind the signs have to be 1 positive, 1 negative. And what are we trying to get up to? We're trying to get to a 3. It's all about that linear term of the 3. Now I know this is our first day of this small tweak to things. And for our purposes, I would not worry about the first one. 1 and 9 is not going to go anywhere for you. It's going to be down to 3 and a 3. Once you start getting into doing about 50, 60, 100 of these over the next few more days, again, it always becomes a little bit quicker each time. You start off by saying guess and check, but it becomes a little bit more than just guess and check. Got a suggestion, Alan?
Minus 7 plus 8.
She's saying focus on the 7 and 8, and I would agree with her on that. 7 and 8 has to go in there, along with the combination of 3 and 3. So as I'm sitting there running through again some numbers in my head, you know, I'm not going to take 3 times 28 in my head. I'm going to at least maybe take that 2 and think, is that going to get me close to a 3 somehow? 3 times 2 is 6. And then 3 times 2 is 6. And a 3 times a 28, that's a large number. Is somehow a 6 and a large number ever going to get me to a 3? No, that's not going to happen. So I'm running those in my head. I'm going to take the easier ones to do in my head before I have to come back and maybe do a 14 or a 28 or a 56. It's entirely possible this happened, but I'm going to go with those easier ones in my head. Edelyn said what? 7 and 8, right?
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
Why is it the same?
It's going to be the same, right? Because they're both 3Bs, right? Now, on the 7, though, it has to be what?
Negative.
And on the 8, it has to be the positive. So let's check her guess then. 3 and negative 7 is what? Negative 21. 8 and 3 is 24. Does that give me that positive 3? Yes, it does. Circle it. Let's move it on. All right, let's move it on to number 4. All right, go through those steps. Is it in standard? Is there a GCF? There definitely is a GCF. Because this particular one, we have to do by a GCF. Because why? A is 4, B is negative 40, and C is... So that GCF absolutely should appear, and you're going to forget everything that we've been doing on these first 3 problems and just do the GCF and call it a day. Always look for that GCF. It's going to happen because C is 0. All right, 4x squared minus 40x. What's the largest number divided into 4 and 40? How many x am I taking out? Show me what you have left over. That sounds good. That's it. You can distribute it back on through. Should go back to the original, but that's as quick as the GCF gets. That's what we did Wednesday last week to start off all this factoring. That's as quick as it gets. All right, let's keep going here. Let's do number 5. Do a couple more here, and then we'll get ready to pause it. All right, for the umpteenth time. Are we in standard? Is there a GCF? No GCF. All right, facts. Let's list them out. And now let's do the factors of A, factors of C. A is 9, B is negative 24, and C is 16. 1 and 9 or 3 and 3. Make sure you account for both of those possibilities. 1 and 9, 3 and 3. Which group is going to work? Shut up, Sam. What's going to be true about the 16? Is it positives, or the sames or opposites? Sam, you can talk now. Sames or opposites, Sam? Thank you, Sam. All right. And on that same, is it pluses or minuses we're using? Why are we using minuses? Yeah, the only way to get a negative in there is throw in some negatives, right? Now, because they're the same sign, it does make things just, I don't know, slightly easier because you have to really worry about the signs per se. All right, that's multiplication I'm doing here. We want to get a 24 out of that, a negative 24 there. It's going to give you a second to chew on it. But Sam said maybe focus on the 3's. I would focus on the 3 and 3 as well. So Caleb is also there saying focus on the 4's as well. And Sam had told you to focus on the 3's, not worry about the 9 and the 1. That was not going to happen. Caleb's back there saying the 4's. Which 4 goes where? It doesn't matter, obviously, right? So in my head, Caleb said, I'm assuming he's doing 3 times 4 is negative 12. Negative 4 times 3 is another negative 12. And together they add up to, yep, checks out. Now that answer is great. But we've been telling you if you run into the same two quantities, I'd like you to rewrite it some way. How do we rewrite that thing? If it's the same two things, we rewrite that as the quantity squared, correct. So what I'd rather you rewrite this answer is as that answer. Okay, get into that habit now. As you get into that habit now, it pays off second semester when I show you factoring can't always work. All right, let's do one more there. Now, 4, 5, and 6 are all kind of related. Okay. On number 6, standard form. Yes. GCF. A is 25. B is. C is. Okay, I have a 0 up here, but do I really care if it's in the linear term? No. Just do what we've been doing. The only time I care if it's 0, if 0 is the C, the constant. Then I gotta do GCF. But if the linear term is 0, I don't care. I keep doing the exact same thing. Factors of 25. 4. Factors of 1. And what's gotta be true about my signs? Sames or opposites? Alright. So 25n and 1n. Either that's working, or if that's not working, what is it? 5n and 5n. One more time. That's multiplication I'm doing right there. Yeah, we have opposite signs, one of each, and well, we only have 1's to deal with, so those 1's should go pretty quick here. And what's happening with that 0? When we get that 0, what that means is we should be getting opposite linear terms for them to cancel out. You're never going to cancel out the ends up here. We get, what, a 26, I think, out of that. Here, 5n times negative 1, 1 times 5n. Yep, that works out. They cancel out completely, and that's why b is always 0. Did we change anything around that we've been doing? Nope. It's been the same thing since Thursday. Do not write this as the quantity squared though. Why? Are they the exact same quantities? No. So don't. I always have a couple kids wanting to rewrite the quantity squared. No. One's a positive, one's a negative. All right. That's where we're pausing. Okay. Anything major from today? Not really. It's all built on last Thursday, last Friday, and if you've been doing the practice with that. Okay. Tomorrow we'll come in. We'll then start solving out for the variable. We've been doing all expressions. Tomorrow we solve. It is nothing major. Again, I keep saying we're doing a small tweak each time. Tomorrow will be the next one we start solving for the variable. All right, here comes your assignment out to you. Just put this off to the side, because then I'll come around and pass up, like I said, that mini quiz. And that will do us for the hour. You got 15 minutes, which will be, again, should be more than enough time. It's not happening in 15 minutes. I'm not saying that you have to be doing things, but that's probably one of it. And then the other thing is somebody just might be a little bit longer. Okay? The first factor, if you have something on that. Again, assignments online, answer keys there, and I'll post this video of our notes as well in case you check over things. And here comes the mini quiz. Only thing you need out really then is a pencil, maybe a calculator. The numbers are pretty nice to work with. Just want your calculator up there off to the side. You have your calculator off to the side. When you're done with the mini quiz, please return it out to the desk. I know you want to try it out. I mean, I heard it. We'll see how it goes. Put your name on it. 3 in the front. Nope, sorry, 2 in the front, 3 in the back. It's pretty straightforward. All right, good luck. Take your time. 15 minutes. Run the fast as we can.